Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'm very excited to be doing another episode of this podcast, and I am super excited to have on as well a really special guest, my big sister Shira. So, woohoo!
Woohoo! I'm officially a woohooer. I'm raising a woohooer. My son woohoos, and it's a beautiful thing.
So I'm gonna take the mic for a second and just first I want to acknowledge it's awesome to be a wahooer. Woohoo! I'm a wahooer too. So the focus on this podcast is I'm actually gonna drop a bombshell to Akiva. Shira already knows it, and I think it could be an interesting conversation because of the conversation that we're trying to have and the podcast idea is the name the inner matrix doesn't work simply because it is already taken. So the reason why the name the inner matrix I thought was so powerful is because of the message that I'm trying to give. So if we really get in touch with the message that we're trying to give and we all kind of have a conversation of transformation conversation, we can very likely come up with new names. And in the conversation of looking for new names, we can very likely have very cool conversation because they kind of go hand in hand, right? Like being in the moment, being present, or just breakthroughs, right? I mean, that's the concept. And in order to come up with a creative name, we need to dive deep. So since Shira's the guest, I'm going to turn the mic to you and ask, what kind of transformation would you like to see in the world?
I got the mic. So for me, I have a son, 3-year-old son, who is delicious. And I have the honor of being his mother and his person in this world. I know you have a little girl now yourself. And my goal for him is kind of aligns with the goal I have for myself and what I would love to see around the world. My goal for him is to raise an emotionally healthy, whole human being. And I have been doing a lot of work on myself to emotionally wholify, if that's a word, myself and get in touch with my own things and become more of a wholesome individual, so that I can model that for my son and so I can show up the way I'd like to show up for him, and at the same time teach him what I want to teach him. So a lot of my world and a lot of my life is revolves around my son. Okay, I'll just give an example. Yesterday, this happened yesterday. It was such a mom win for me. I had tears in my eyes, jumping up and down. I couldn't believe it, and I get credit for it as his mom, and he gets the credit for doing what he did. We went to this carnival yesterday where they had a bunch of rides, and I put him on a ride with a friend of his. My son is 3. Okay, another little boy his age, 3 years old. They're both going on this ride, and I know my son, and I knew he was going to be a little bit scared on this ride, but he wanted to go on it, and I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. So I put him on this ride, and it starts. He's in like this car thing, and it's going around, and it's going up and down and up and down. It's a little bouncy, and he is screaming, crying. His little face is contorted. He's crying hysterically, and something I can do. I'm watching him go around. As he goes around again, it comes back to me, and I could see him, and he's not crying anymore. I can't hear him because there's a lot of noise, but I can see him mouthing the words over and over. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. I was like, oh my goodness. I start tearing. I was jumping up and down. I'm like, I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And he got off the ride, and I told him I'm so proud of how he calmed his little body down, and he reminded himself that he's safe. And he told me, like, kind of matter of factly, yeah, when the ride went down, I told myself I was safe. And then, I didn't like that ride as much as I liked the other ride. And I was just I'm still blown away. I understand that I gave him that tool of being able to self-soothe and remind himself that he is safe. But he was able to do it for himself. And I hope that he will take that with him through life to be able to remind himself that you can be scared and safe. You can be scared and trust the world. You're okay, and be able to calm himself down and get through it. And he got through that ride, and he was fine. And I'm just like, that's the kind of thing that I try to give him to get through life. And I think if myself and more individuals were able to get out of that fight or flight mode, and like you guys talk about being present and being able to see what's really happening and calm yourself down with the reality of what's actually going on versus what's replaying in your mind, everyone would just be more wholesome, peaceful, joyous human beings. And yeah.
I just want to acknowledge you. That is amazing, and what an accomplishment. A mentor of mine, he's consistently tells me and my wife, me and Tehila, that the most important years of the child's life is from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. Says those people think that like that age doesn't really matter. It really starts at age 5 or age 10. Once, and it's like no, no, no. Those first few years is how they're going to be able to handle the drama that they face and the things that happen. And the fact that that happened with Zane is wow. Now I have a goal. And I also want to just say that you've already influenced the way I am raising my child. From the little bit that I see you interact with Zane, it really inspires me into Gila. Hearing that story just now really gave me like confidence. It was like I knew it was true, but the fact that in the moment, not after a fact, in the moment, Zane was able to correct himself in such a traumatic situation. Like that's scary. That's wow. Just
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, that's
Thank you.
it really is. It's amazing. Every time I talk to you, I tell you that, Shira. I always tell you how amazing it is to just see you being a mom and see the way Zane is turning out. The person he's growing up to be is just, it's amazing. And it's like another story that this kind of reminded me of was, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember this actually. You're a mom. There's no way you forgot this
I know
moment.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about. You were there for that one.
Yeah, but I was visiting and Zane started, who to tell you the story real quick. Basically, Zane started having a little bit of a temper tantrum. He wanted something, wasn't getting exactly what he wanted. He started getting worked up. And then as he was getting worked up, I saw him just stop, close his eyes, and just go, take a bunch of really slow, deep breaths. And then he opens his eyes and has a smile on his face and goes, Mommy, can I have, and asked for what he wanted. And Shira said, I'm sorry, not right now. And he's like, okay. And that was it. No anger, no more temper tantrum. It was all gone. And it was so cool to see, as that's something I try to do. I've been trying to do that for years and years and years. And I struggle with it so much every day. And then to see at that point, he was what, 2?
I don't even know if he was even, yeah, he must have been 2. He was a little over 2. I remember that. And he calmed himself down, and I think I might have told him, I think I said something at the time. I was like, I can't understand the words that you're saying right now. And that like triggered it in his mind to stop and take some deep breaths. And then he was able to say what he wanted. And I walked out of the room. I wasn't sure how to react because I believe in positive reinforcement, but I also don't want to make it such a big deal. Like I want this to just be, how he acts and what this is what we do and, to calm ourselves down. I went into the next room. I literally was jumping up and down. I was like, that was my first big moment of feeling like what I'm doing is paying off. A part of me, and just I'll voice it because that's what this is all about. A part of me is fighting the urge to say I'm far from perfect. I do a lot of things wrong, blah, 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 in my parenting and stuff. So I'm just putting that out there to just like, whatever, I'm thinking that. And also I'm doing awesome in these ways. But a lot of like, who did this happen? What Kiva's talking about with Zane when he was just a little over 2 years old, maybe 2 and 2 or 3 months, like little. And he had to be told that a lot of times before he was, and modeled it and whatever, before he was 2, for him to be able to put it into action in a real live moment. So the 0 to 3, like the way you talk to your baby, even now, it makes a difference. And if they can't understand it, they can feel it. And it matters. I believe it strongly matters. Starts right away.
Wow, so powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, just imagine the 3 of us, those skills, and imagine we had the experience of you not having to defend yourself, saying, "Hold on 1 second." Imagine instead there was just a deep breath. I mean, like, I'm great, right? Because I don't think anyone watching this video thinks you're perfect. Because if you were perfect, you would be on magazines. Even the people on magazines aren't perfect. But I mean,
What is
we have
perfect?
that. Right? What is perfect? Perfectly imperfect. That's the we're all perfectly imperfect. That's super powerful, and I'm also just gonna I started off this call with a little bit of lack of integrity, and even in this conversation, I was lacking some integrity because while you were talking, I was like, hold on one second. So the name needs to be something with, and then I'm like, whoa, I'm not even present. I started going off about how it has to be something to do with presence and good talk and da da da. And I'm like, whoa, one second. So I just want to restore my integrity and admit that I was doing that and create, a new possibility of being, of just being present. So I wanted to say that too. I didn't want to just let that slide under the rug. But that is so powerful. That story is really like I'm already thinking. I don't know how many episodes of what I posted Tehila has watched. Right? I don't know if she has, if she didn't, if she does a little bit here and there. And I'm like, this is an episode she's gonna have to watch. She needs to hear the story, and she's not hearing it from me. You know.
I'll
I,
tell you, I told you guys about that book. I've read one parenting book. I started reading another one. I haven't finished it. I read one parenting book when Zane was probably about as old as Lila is now. The Good Inside book, Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy. Read the book. Read the book. Or listen to the audiobook. It is like nail on the head over and over and over.
What was the name? Just so that for anyone who's watching, so that they can have it in case they want to. What was the name of the book and the author's name, if you know?
It's called Good Inside. It's very simple. We are all good inside. Written by Dr. Becky Kennedy. Good Inside. It's a yellow book. Good Inside. It's a great book. Great, like
Awesome.
nail on the head every time.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I mean, going off of a little bit of what we were saying before, I feel like this is kind of a good segue, something that I've been thinking about a bit. We've touched a lot throughout this couple episodes that we've had. We've touched a lot on being present and the impact of that, but we haven't really touched too much on different ways to be present. And I think, Shira, with the stuff you were sharing and things that you've taught Zane, maybe you have some stuff that you can share as different tools or ways that you've taught Zane to be more present or just more mindful of things. And we can kind of just have a conversation where we can all talk about the different things that we use and different ways that we know of trying to be present.
I want to just add in. I really like what Akiva's saying, and there's one tweak that I want to add, or not really a tweak, like a sub note that I want to stick in there, which is the way we talk to a 1-year old or a 2-year old is a dumbed down version, right? I would assume that whatever you're telling Zane, I need to hear it too, in the same version, because I'm no different than Zane, even though Zane is only 1. And it's crazy to say that out loud, that I'm no different, because I am very different. While I really do think what Kiva's getting to is actually very important, because whatever you're saying to Zane, and I want to hear it. And not only do I want to hear it, everyone should hear it. And that really is very important. So I like the question, Kiva.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot. If you don't want to go first, Shira, we can.
That's okay. I struggle with being present, even with Zane, which blows my mind because I love him and I love being with him and I love playing with him. And for some reason, I struggle with it in my home, like playing with him with his toys and stuff. And I tend to pull away and just like get busy with silly things or hang out on my phone or whatever instead of interacting with him the way that I like to. And then I remind myself when I am playing with him, and then I look up and I see how many minutes passed. I'm like, huh, I was just present for that amount of minutes because I didn't even realize time was passing. I didn't think about I don't want to do this or I want to do that, or I was actually present. And it's a gift for me, and it's a gift to give him to be present with him. Presence is it's kind of like a minute by minute struggle, which I think is the minute by minute win of presence. When you're actually in it, you're doing it, and that's it. And then when you're not, you're not.
I really like what you're saying, minute to minute. Something I want to go off what you're saying a little bit. It's like a minute to minute struggle. Is I had this realization probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was lying in bed, and as I'm lying there, I'm like, I really can't sleep. So I reach for my phone, and then I'm like, hold on one second. What I'm saying makes no sense, because eventually there'll be a time when I can sleep. So right now I'm saying I can't sleep, and I'm already predicting that I'm not going to be able to sleep. But at what point is it like, oh, switch? Oh, now you can. No. So I'm actually lying to myself by saying I can't sleep. It's not. I'm lying by what I'm projecting. the truth is, you're right. I can't sleep in this moment. That's the end of it.
Not even that you can't sleep. You are not asleep right
I
now.
am not exactly. I'm not, and you know what? With sleeping, it's not minute by minute. It's second by second. And it happens to be after I had that realization, I was like, wow, that's powerful. And I still reached over and took my phone. I just accepted, I'm taking my phone, not because I can't sleep, because I want to take my phone. And that's fine.
I just had a big like wow kind of moment of realizing how when we say we can or cannot do something in any way, we're not being present. Because if you're in the moment, if you're thinking about if I can get this done, that's the future.
Yeah,
That's not
should or
right
shouldn't.
now. Exactly. It's not living in the now. Because right now, maybe the overarching goal feels impossible. Right now, what are you trying to do? Do that.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I was in a place called Fisher's. It's like a yeshiva, and they like the slogan then or something they said then is shouldn't is just as bad as a curse word. Like the biggest curse word, like you wouldn't say that in front of the rabbi. Should is just as bad. I should do this. I should have done that. Just as bad. Do it or you're not doing it, right? And that's something I quoted from them so many times because it's exactly what you're saying, and it's so powerful how we use these words, and we don't even realize. Like people are so careful to not say curse words, and they miss the boat because they say all these negative things about themselves and shoulds and shouldn'ts, and it's like maybe say the word X every once in a while, and don't say I'm having a bad day because you're not. You had a bad bunch of minutes. A bunch of minutes didn't work out the way you thought they were going to work out. Your whole day wasn't bad, right? It wasn't. It's impossible to have a fully bad day,
It
and it's
depends
just
what you focus on.
right.
Sorry.
No,
I
no,
want to
no.
say that I had a moment not too long ago. I didn't quite tie it to presence, but where I felt like a should have or could have is all a judgment. And it's a comparison, which is a judgment based on what you think should or shouldn't be, right? So any should or shouldn't is a judgment, which doesn't feel good. It feels like a fight, right? A judgment is a fight. And then there's this whole like if you're talking about like I say about myself, I should do this or I shouldn't have done that, then it becomes kind of like an internal battle of I'm not good enough at this or I'm not good enough at that. I should be better at this. And it's just a negative judgment, which really can be beat if instead of judgment you apply compassion. It's kind of like a snowball effect, at least with me, when I'm, presently aware of it, to where then I can no longer see the day as a bad day, because as soon as I'm tuned into compassion, I am now connecting to gratitude. And when you're connected to gratitude, there's no way to be swallowed by the negativity because there's so much good. And it's really what you focus on. And in a day where a lot of bad things happen, the sun might still be shining, and that might feel good on your skin and make the flowers look pretty and whatever else good stuff is actually happening. And you get to choose. We get to choose as people what we focus on. Like I do that with Zane, like, what are we grateful for? And it's like, it's so easy when you get into it to just keep going on the things that are around us that are just so awesome. Simple things, big things. Life is a series of moments, and it's all about good minutes or like good feeling minutes. It's all about how we feel. That's what makes our experience.
No, for sure.
So
For sure. I
yeah.
mean, like going off of that, I think that it goes into like the idea that I mean, there's an infinite amount of good and bad out there, right? And we choose what we focus on, what our perspective is, and that shapes the reality that we live in. And I
Yeah.
think that it's super important to realize that and to just take it on a minute by, like you said it before, the minute by minute basis. I really love that. Because I think that's the biggest thing with these types of things that people kind of miss the boat with, is they think of it as like it's this massive goal they're trying to attain, right? Of being present all the time. And they try to do that, and then they get frustrated because they're not present all the time, because no one's present all the time. It's impossible. And then you get distraught and beat down and burnt out, and then you stop even trying to be present anymore. And the biggest thing that I've realized lately that's really been helping me doing it a little bit. Don't focus on it all day, every day, and beat yourself up. And you're not. It's not about that. It's about just focus on as much as you can. For me, the biggest thing I've been focusing on that's been helping me tremendously when I'm having a conversation with someone, try to just listen. And I can go into how I haven't been doing that properly because I haven't. I've been thinking, and my already always listening is always still going. So I have all my opinions and thoughts, but I try to focus on that and be as present as I can when someone else is talking. And I feel like that has really showed me what it means to be present because I struggled at first a lot, and it's gotten easier and easier to now just listen when someone's talking. And I feel like I'm actually listening. I'm actually taking in what they're saying. And yeah, I just think that that is a super important nuance. Like we have to take it one little thing at a time. Don't jump in. It's like with diet. If you try to go from having no strict diet at all to being in a super strict diet, it's going to be super hard for you to keep to that diet long term. But now if you slowly implement that diet where now you implement one vegetable a day or one vegetable a week even, and then you slowly just more like you're slowly introducing that healthier diet, it makes it easier to keep it going because you're doing one little step at a time as opposed to trying to just overtake everything at once.
I definitely agree with you. I also think that it's a little bit small to say I'm only going to be present when having conversation, right? Now, it could be that I wasn't fully present to what you were saying, and I do agree you shouldn't be beating yourself up. If you are, realize that you're not being present. Have an awareness, focus on where you're present, where you're not present, and from there things will just happen. There isn't like a thermostat that goes up like, oh, you're very present now, oh, now you're not present. It doesn't work that way. It's just an awareness and a muscle that needs to be built. And there shouldn't be now I am, now I'm not. The whole definition of presence is to just be. So it's not scalable because as soon as you're scaling it, you're not present. You're missing the boat, right?
Can I
It's just
can I offer another perspective that kind of just hit me? It's like we strive for presence and we all want presence, but what if we actually are always present? It's more a question of what we're actually present to. We're always present.
that's
We just
powerful.
might
Wow.
be present to the thoughts of the future or the past. And so it's not as much a struggle of being present all the time. It's more like that muscle that you just said, that you just mentioned, Huda, of awareness and being aware of what you're present to. And that's all it actually takes. It doesn't actually take getting present and getting here. It just takes thinking for a second, what am I currently present to? What do I want to be present to? Boom.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That I would have said I wasn't present because of what you said, what it did to me. Like I was like, whoa. And then I was, and I really was because what you said really moved me. And it actually made me realize that I'm being present just to something other than Shira talking.
Yeah. No, you need to realize that. So that's the muscle, right? Once you realize that, you now have a choice. You could choose to tune in. It's like a radio. You can choose to tune in, or you can choose to tune into something else, but you're always tuned in. You're always there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
That is just
Kind of funny, right?
completely different perspective on it. And that is like, whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's so crazy to think about, but it's so simple to think about too, in a sense. Like now that you said it, and it makes sense to me. I'm like, well, duh, we're present, we're in the moment. We're just our perspective is we're thinking about whatever, so we're focused on that, but we're still present. We're present to whatever we're focused on.
You're present
Yeah.
unless you're dead. I really like that.
You're present to something. It's about what are you present to.
Yeah. And awareness is your key for everything.
Wow.
And then you can
Then you could
build
choose
that
your
muscle.
presence.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, oh, I'm not very present today. Oh, I actually am very present. I'm just present to yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like we were talking about how there's so much good and there's so much bad. Okay, so you're present in this moment where there's good and there's bad. So what are you present to? What are you tuning
Wow.
into? The good or the
Wow. So
bad?
so it's crazy. So right now I happen to be in Bulgaria, right? You guys know that. And I'm snowboarding and I was teaching someone else how to snowboard. And I kept telling him, you need to be okay to fall. You're trying not to fall and therefore you're staying. Rather than learning, you're staying. And I kept thinking that he's not present. And I was kind of telling him that, like, you're way too in your mind. You need to let go of your mind and say, I'm going to fall. And then do something different so that you fall. And then you could learn, right? Like that was my point. Like, if you're so afraid to fall, you're not going to try something new and you're just not going to learn. Like, you want to master it today, then you gotta be willing to fall a lot. But my point to what I was trying to say was that he wasn't being present. And in reality, he was so present. He was just present to the fear. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually very valid because the fear is 100% real for him. And that's not present. Wow.
And now, if he can tune in to the possibility of making it down the mountain and not falling, that's what you're present to then. That diminishes the fear, right?
Right.
And it's all valid,
Hmm.
not to
Wow.
invalidate anything.
Of course it is valid. I just want to say I disagree that the possibility should be falling down, that you get down the hill without falling. The possibility should be that you fall a bunch of times. Because it's like someone saying they want to create a business that's going to be the most successful business and they're not willing to have any businesses fail on the way. If that's your attitude, don't start a business. It's just not possible.
I don't need to believe I'm going to fall. I need to believe that if I fall, I can get back up. I don't need to
I
believe
agree.
in the fall. I need to believe in my strength. I don't
But you
need to
need to
fall.
let go. You need to let go of the fear of falling. I agree you don't need to say, I will fall, but you can't say, I'm afraid to fall, because then you're not taking the risk. If I'm afraid to fail in a business, then I'm never going to take the move. I'm never going to start the business. I'm
So
too afraid.
being scared of failure or being scared of falling is not a bad thing, and it doesn't stop you from success. What stops you from success is if that fear now stops you from taking action and stops you from doing things. There's a lot of people that all the time will go and do things even though they're scared of it, right? They're going to push through it and do it and they're going to succeed. So having a fear of failure, I don't necessarily think that doesn't stop you. I think in a way that can be a motivating factor for you as well. Again, it's about your perspective and about what you're focused on. But
Hmm.
having a little bit of fear of failure can push you to do better. And as well, I think going off of what Shira said, I think what's super important is to have that resolve in the back of your head to know no matter what happens, I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to be fine.
So I
I'm
agree
not
with your
going
second point. I disagree with the first part. When I'm snowboarding and I'm going
to.
down the hill, as soon as I'm like I'm gonna fall, right? As soon as it's like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my balance. There's a panic, and that's the reason I fall. If I was like, if I fall, awesome, I would catch my balance a million times, a million times. And,
100%.
and
And if you had this same passion behind your feeling of I'm not going to fall, and knowing that if you did fall, you'll be fine, but that you fully believe you won't fall, I believe the same amount you won't fall.
right, right.
You're choosing to tune into the fear or the what you're seeing as strength.
I completely get what you're saying. And not only do I get it, it's like there's actually a shift happening for me right now because, like I'm saying, you can't be afraid to fall. So I need to accept the fact that I'm not afraid to fall and also believe I will not fall. And if I do, that's fine. It's just a side fact because
Yeah.
otherwise it's a negative pushing me. A negative pushing leads to burnout. So instead of a negative pushing, I need a positive
Or it just
pushing.
doesn't feel as good. Simple. Lead to
Right.
burnout, whatever. Doesn't feel as good. Choose what feels better. Choose a
Right. That
positive
makes
push
sense.
because it feels better. That's how I
I,
like that's how I see it.
I really
Positivity
like what you're
feels
saying.
better. There's always a flip, but like positivity feels better.
For sure. I completely agree. I agree with that part. I don't fully agree though to the point of that. I mean, it seems. Tell me if I'm getting mistaken, Huda, but it kind of sounds like from what you're saying that let's go with the analogy we've been using. You're scared of falling when you're going down the mountain. That means you're going to fall. And I think that with that, there's a part for you that you were thinking of it as, oh, I'm scared of falling. That means that's gonna spiral. Like the way you were saying it was like an excessive worry. There's and being scared of it doesn't mean you're going to excessively worry and snowball and go to this point of
Of
where now you're
course.
going to just be focused on falling and you're going to fall. I've
Of course.
snowboarded before plenty of times where I was scared of falling. I just also I was scared like, oh, if I fall, it's going to hurt. And I was like, and if it hurts, I'm going to bounce back up and keep on going.
Of
And
course. I agree with you
mm,
that for my level of snowboarding, I
mhm,
can live with the fear of falling. And if I have that fear of falling, there's nothing wrong with it. The
mhm,
problem is that if I'm trying to become a pro snowboarder or I'm trying to get much and much better, I need to get into the uncomfortable. I need to say, my goal is to get down the hill and fall. Meaning, if my goal is to get down and fall, why is my goal to fall? Because my goal is to try so many new things. I was teaching this one person to snowboard. Every time he goes on his toes, he fell. Every single time. He only goes on his heel. He goes down like this, right? Just on his heel. If you snowboard, you'll get what I'm saying. He kind of goes just like this. So I was telling him, instead of going like this, go like this and fall. And if you fell, then that's great. Why is that great? Because that means you're doing something that you're uncomfortable with. And soon you'll do it and you won't fall. And in the beginning, he fell and then he did it and he didn't fall. And I was like, do you see how amazing it was? You didn't even fall. That's great. Now do it again. And he was afraid to do it again, right? So it's not fall, it's don't be afraid to fall. And if you do fall, get back up. And you're not going to fall. You got it without falling, while you need to be completely understanding of what's actually going to happen if you fall. Nothing. You're just going to get back up. But you're not even going to fall. So there's no real reason to have that conversation, right? Now, if that is there, that's fine. Even me, I'm not a new snowboarder. I've been snowboarding for years. When I'm going down the hill, I'm going and there's a huge a weight that's like, I'm not in the mood of falling. And I'm like, no, I had the best run today when I told myself, no, I'm gonna fall. My goal is to fall. And I went down and I didn't fall because when I was like almost gonna fall, I was like, I got this. But my goal when I was going down that I was like, I'm gonna fall. And if I fall, great. I'm not gonna stop because of my fear of falling. And I happen to have not fell. So I do agree that it's a negative pushing. And if I instead push positively, then that gut feeling maybe will disappear. And I love that possibility and I see how it would disappear. Right? And that's kind of what you guys are saying, that there's a negative. That's what I'm hearing, not necessarily what you're saying.
So I just before, like, I would love to give a response. I know Shira does as well. The one thing is that I know we are starting to run out of time, and I would love to continue this conversation. Maybe we could leave this open ended. It could be we kind of have somewhat different views, and anyone who listens to it can kind of ponder the different views, and then in the future we could follow up with continuing from the point that we're leaving off now.
This was an awesome conversation, and I want to say my goal from the beginning was trying to think of a name. So let's all try to think about what this conversation was and what was there, because there definitely was some very, very deep concepts. And I think we should let go of the old name, not try to base it off the old name, because the old name worked because it worked. So now let's find something just as good, brand new. That's my goal.
I think your idea of letting it flow and come is a good idea.
I
Amazing.
agree.
This has been fun. Have fun snowboarding. Be safe.
Thank
Don't
you. This
fall.
was this was a lot of fun, and I really appreciated this conversation. And I'm definitely excited for plenty more. I think this was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to like, oh, my baby's doing so good. And doing good for him and all that
He
stuff. So
is.
Of course, it's amazing. It
thank
was
you.
amazing having you on here. This was a lot of fun. So thank you guys.
It was.
Love you
Thank you
guys.
guys.
Yes, I love you
Love you
guys.
guys.
Bye.
And as we
Bye.
always end off, peace and love to everybody.